So hybridity in fashion gives a lot of questions. How you are going to dress yourself shows your national identity, affinity or identity, and your socioeconomic status. And cultural cross-dressing, meaning you wear other cultures' dress, right? Or versus gendered cross-dressing. Do you know what gendered cross-dressing is? Who is a famous cross-dresser of our own time?
David Bowie.
David Bowie, yes. Do you know David Bowie, guys? Or have you ever watched the movie Birdcage?
Yes.
You never watched Birdcage? It's
yes,
yeah, it's a classic movie. Emma, so can you talk a little bit about cross-dressing?
It's not. I'm thinking of the newer one. So there's the two guys. There's the Robin Williams character, and then there's the other one.
Right, Birdcage was made into movies like twice. So
This is around one of the two men. They're in a relationship. One of them cross-dresses.
Right. Or in New York City, we have this, entertainers called drag queen, right? Like I don't really follow this field, but some of them are really, really famous, right? They are actually huge influencer on the social media and so forth. Christian society like the US or Britain, they were very harsh on gendered cross-dressers. But these days, again, new identity politics and rise of civic rights movement, it's okay to dress whatever you find comfortable. But gendered cross-dressers were harshly punished, especially in the Victorian England. Men who dressed as women, they were imprisoned. They were considered criminals. The movie To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, is another movie with cross-dressing. Okay, I never watched this. To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything. Okay.
That one's a hoot. I think you would like it.
Oh, you watch this movie?
Yeah, it's a classic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what I was trying to say is, even in the 19th century, Britain or American society, they are conservative Christians, but cultural cross-dressing was okay, but they didn't allow gendered cross-dressings. So something to think about. And then, is all forms of cultural cross-dressing acceptable? This is actually, the question that all of you had in mind, right? Like who have a legitimate reason to cross-dress versus cultural appropriation, and dress as expression of a political and economic status. You see a lot of these category, right? Like political and economic status. So can anybody volunteer to talk about a legitimate cross-dressing example, for example? What can you think of? Like, let's say me. Oh, Alyssa?
Like you're talking about like culture-wise?
Yeah. Or yeah, in our modern culture, yes.
I think a good example of that is Kim Kardashian and just the Kardashians in general wearing box braids or cornrows in their hair when it's more of a not their culture type thing.
But you are saying is that is acceptable?
No, it's not acceptable.
Oh, it's not acceptable. Okay. But my question is, Kim Kardashian considers herself a part of that black people, right? That's her identity, isn't it?
She's Armenian, but she seems to consider herself otherwise.
She's Armenian, but father was African American, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, but the Kardashian's mother got married later, right? To an African American man.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so the Kim Kardashian, like, so ethnically, she doesn't have any heritage to claim for. Rebecca?
I watch the Kardashians every Sunday, so I feel like I have some sort of in on this. The Kardashians,
Yeah.
they appropriate culture a lot. I can definitely say they're technically white. They're technically just white people. Her mother was white, her father was white, and then when her mother remarried to Bruce Jenner, who's now Caitlyn Jenner, he is also white. So they do have some Armenian in them, but they're mostly just white.
I see.
Culture, yes.
Yes, like also white.
So why do I think then Kim Kardashian is always part of sort of African American community? Is it the kind of image that she wanted to project?
I
Because
guess.
that's her husband. She's married to
Definitely,
Kanye West.
she literally paints her skin.
And also, you know, like because I'm an ignorant shopper, but Kim Kardashian's brand, right? The kind of clothes or accessories or whatever she tried to sell, doesn't she appeal to mainly like a BIPOC community, meaning sort of a Latinx or Hispanic, or I thought like African American communities as well. Like, isn't that group like her main target of sales? Am I wrong?
I think it's more she's inspired by them, but that stuff is made for, I think, mostly women like her who are fans of her, who also want to appropriate culture.
Right. Like, so people like you, like, millennials, like you, like a young generation, you feel that Kim Kardashian appropriated cultures that are not part of hers, right? That's how you feel? Well, let's do the poll some other time, but it's really interesting. I only come across her because I watch that mainstream news broadcast, or what is those shows that I watch on 7 p.m., like Inside Edition, those things. And then I see a lot of Kim Kardashian doing this or doing that. And, like, yeah, so I always thought she is part of that sort of a Latinx culture or African American culture. What was the husband of her? Like a name? Now they are divorced, right? But famous hip hop musician, wasn't he?
Kanye, yeah.
Yeah, right. Kanye West, right. The one who ran for presidency. But anyhow, so that's interesting, something to think about. But I want you to have these questions in mind. I think one of the reasons that you are taking this class is to be balanced when it comes to these kind of categories, right? And also we want to be an open-minded person instead of judging others. But when in my case, like a cultural cross-dressing, like a legitimate, something acceptable is, for example, in my own department, we have a professor, her name is, it slips my mind, Ann Schaefer. Yeah, Ann Schaefer. So she's originally from Boston area, but if you see her on campus, you would think that she is from Saudi Arabia or Egypt. And she taught many years in Egypt, and she eventually got married to an Egyptian man, Muslim, with the last name of Schaefer. So that's why she changed her name to Ann Schaefer. And she has the whole, like a headdress from head to toe, and she only shows her face. And she is following that Egyptian tradition of a modest dress for women. So in that case, that's not really, I mean, technically it's a cultural cross-dressing, but it's totally legitimate. If you start talk about Quran or Islam as a faith to her, she will be, inside and outside expert of it, right? She has her own faith and understand all the meanings of it, why you, dress that way. So that is a legitimate way. Or people like me, let's say I teach this course, I try not to wear other people's culture. But for example, I have a dear Indian professor friend, and if she gives me a set of clothing from her particular region or town in India, and she also teaches me how to wear these on which holidays and so forth, and I would wear with great honor, then if I can explain all of these to anybody from that region in India, then I guess that's also somewhat legitimate, right? Like, I'm not really appropriating for my own interest, but it's more for an honor for a certain occasion and so forth. So yeah, I want you to think about, like, which other culture you can wear with some sort of legitimacy and authenticity.